Welcome to the Piston Fanatic. I am your host, Dave Dalton. I'm excited to share my passion and perspective of our Detroit Pistons as we go on this fantastic voyage together. I've been a diehard Piston fan since the days of Dave Bing and Bob Lanier. I've also been a varsity basketball coach of a very successful program in northern Michigan. Currently, my daughter and I are coaching one of the best AAU teams in the country. Well, Piston fans, I'm not going to lie, I'm just a little bit disappointed and underwhelmed by the start of the offseason. I said in a podcast prior to this that this was one of the biggest off seasons in Piston history. I think it still is, but not falling to the worst possible spot at the fifth pick was very disappointing, and I thought was hopefully getting at least a top 3 pick. And then the coaching search has not gone quite as I think would have hoped it would. We thought we'd move on much quicker than this, but I just want to thank you. I want to thank all of you that are listening. You obviously are Piston fanatics, or you would not be listening to a podcast at the end of May for a team that won only 17 games and 23 the year before, maybe 20 the year before that, and you're still a fan of our Pistons. And I am still optimistic, as discouraged as I am about the way things have started out for us. I still am very optimistic about our future, and I want to thank you for listening. It's tough to be a fan, and you just look at what the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat went through in Game 6. The Celtics had that game won. They missed, but then they missed their last 9 shots. They still haven't won. Marcus Smart misses a free throw, and then miraculously the Heat came back. Jimmy Butler gets fouled on a 3. He baited Horford into fouling him and got 3 free throws. And so they're up by 1, 3 seconds left. And Marcus Smart, I don't know why he was the one taking the shot, but he jacked up a turnaround fadeaway and, right at White, tipped it in right at the buzzer. And so, they go from, both teams went from those emotions, or your team being up 3-0, thinking that you have the series won, and then it's all of a sudden tied 3-3, and now you're going to Boston on the road for Game 7. So it is hard to be a fan, and it is excruciating to lose like that, but that's what we want. We want our team to get there, and I think we will. But today we're going to dig in a little bit more about the patience that it takes. One thing that you can learn from watching the Boston series is the team that shoots the threes wins. The team that makes a good percentage typically seems like one team makes a lot of threes and one team doesn't. And the team that makes the good percentage wins that game. And, again, it's even goes from team to team. One game Miami shoots the 3 well and Boston shoots it bad, and so Miami wins, and then the other way around. So shooting is obviously very, very important. And that's why in this draft, I've emphasized, I like Taylor Hendricks. I mean, my first pick is obviously Cam Whitmore. We're going to talk about him more today. We're going to talk about the NBA coaching searches. We're going to talk about some proposed trades that we've heard, and we're going to talk about a big variety of things. So hang on and be patient, and let's get through this. So I just wanted to bring up Amen Thompson. He has the potential to be the best player in the draft, except probably Victor, and he's long, he's athletic, he sees the floor extremely well, he has great instincts, he's got potential to be a great defender, but he can't shoot. And again, he's over 20 already, and he's been, in this developmental league where they spend all their time supposedly with the best coaches teaching them how to shoot, and he's not been able to, even shoot a good percentage on his free throws. So we saw this Ben Simmons, who, he's not even playing, but, and I think a lot of it is mental with him, but Ben Simmons could not shoot in college. And it was weird to me, this guy who they said is the best prospect, he can't shoot. And then he gets to the NBA and he still can't shoot. And then he still made all NBA. He still made all-star teams. But then they stopped guarding him, or then in the playoff game, they lost a playoff game, and everybody felt like he should have shot it, and he passed it because they thought he was afraid of missing. And so now it's really became a mental thing with him. So that's why I'm concerned, just like I said with Killian Hayes. If you can't shoot, that was the book on Killian coming into the draft. He couldn't shoot. And, you always hope that guys develop, and some guys do. But more than not, guys like Hami, Hami knows, I can be a great NBA player if I could shoot, and he's obviously spends lots of time working on it. He knows it could be worth millions and millions of dollars, and he still can't shoot. And same with Josh Jackson. So that's why, when there's other alternatives other than picking a guy that can't shoot, um, I'd rather get a guy that has shown good signs of being able to be a good shooter. Another thing I want to just bring up is a lot of people that are on Piston podcasts and other draft podcasts. I listen to them all the time, and they talk about like who are the Pistons going to take at 31. We got the first pick in the second round. Again, it's a valuable trade chip, but it's also could lead to a really good player. There's going to be somebody that goes um, after 31 that's going to turn out to be a real good player. But the thing why I don't dive into it and waste a lot of my time trying to study all those guys. I do hear things about different guys, but I'm not going to spend your time listening to my analysis, because there's, between 20 and 40, between those two picks, which is right exactly where we're sitting at 31, that there's 20 players, and that all of them could go either 20 or they could go 40. There's a lot of draft experts say that there's just a wide range of guys, and somebody's going to slide here and somebody's going to slide there, and you have to hopefully do really study hard and you make the right pick because you're smart, but also there's certainly a lot of luck to it. So I also want to bring up, we traded, it is still haunting us a little bit. Troy traded our first round draft pick, very heavily protected, to Houston when we traded, and they were just going to sign Christian Wood anyway, but we did a sign and trade, and he got their first round pick. So it's protected, but now the Knicks own that pick now. But the thing is how good is Isaiah Stewart? I mean, Troy likes to make moves. Troy likes to be active. We're going to see that, I'm sure, between now and the end of free agency. And there's, like I said in the last episode, a lot of the trades come on draft night. That's when a lot of people make moves. So I just want to review the pick with the Knicks. So we can't trade future picks because you can't trade two first round picks in a row. And since we don't know when our first round pick is going to convey, so that now we are locked. We can't trade future picks. So if there was a good move out there for us, we can't make it because we made that trade for Jeremy Grant, and it still remains to be seen after 3 years if Jeremy's going to be not Jeremy Grant, excuse me, Isaiah Stewart. Sorry about that. But so in 2024, next year, which I think we're going to win around 32 games, but that means we still would be in the lottery. It's protected through pick 18. So any pick through 1 and 18, we still would get, even if we have a better season. So in 2025, it's between pick 1 and pick 13. Now that's when it starts. That's the year that I wouldn't be surprised if we got out of the lottery. So I think we're either going to be just out or just in the lottery. So we could still get the 13th pick, but I'm all for winning. So in 2026, it goes to protected 1 through 11, and by then I'm very confident that we will not be getting that pick. I think for sure by 2026 that pick will convey, but if it didn't, in 2027 it goes protected 1 through 9, and then after that we just have to give a second round pick. So I'm just going to touch base again. I've done this before, but free agency, I'm not for really signing a free agent this year. I'm going to explain the reasons why, but Jeremy Grant is a big one. He's going to demand over $30 million a year. Cam Johnson, he's going to be close to $30 million a year. Dylan Brooks, I just don't want him as a person in my clubhouse with my players. I don't want to watch him on the court, even though he can bring some good defense. Again, he takes terrible shots and he shoots a bad percentage, and his ego, which causes him to act the way he does, makes him think that he still can shoot those shots and hurt his team. But Porzingis is another one that they mentioned, but he's going to demand a lot of money. He's been injured all the time. I mean, I was so against the Blake Griffin trade when it happened, and it was because his age, his injury, and his cost. And so Porzingis is the same thing. He's getting older. He's not as old as Blake was when we traded for him, but he's been injured about as much, and he's going to demand close to a max contract. So I'm not for doing any of those this year. We could talk about Troy. This is a year, if he doesn't nail the coach and he doesn't nail the pick, I like Troy. I think that he's done a lot of good things. He got our books organized, our finances where we were way over the cap, and we got rid of the players that were, making us so that we had no flexibility and we couldn't make any moves. But Troy, if we look at what he's really done, he took Killian, which obviously is not a great pick at number 7, and he picked Stu, which he could end up, and he picked Sadiq, and Sadiq's gone. So Cade is the number 1 pick, so he didn't blow it. I still believe Cade is going to be the best player, and especially the best leader and the best person for a culture that's going to bring winning to a team. But he had the number 1 pick, and Ivy, his 5th pick. He didn't blow that one. I still think that, after that, Mathurin or Shaden Sharp, I still love Shaden Sharp. And so he could have picked, but Ivy was a great pick. And Ivy, I think probably Troy knew that Ivy would work hard and improve. Not that those other guys aren't going to, but I love Ivy and I love everything he's about. And he was sensational at the end of last year. So the one big move that he's made in his career is getting Duren. But I will say this, I still think that was lucky that the Knicks and Charlotte were stupid enough to trade us the 13th pick for Milwaukee's pick in 2025. That's what we gave up for that pick. So to his credit, he made the deal. They had to take another team to want to be willing to do the deal that I don't think they were very smart. And then we were lucky that he liked Duren. I think Duren is fabulous. And so that was a great move by Troy. That's probably his best move for sure as a general manager. But let's just quickly look at the patience it takes to be a champion. So everybody wants to jump in. There's a lot of you fans, I love you all, but you're wanting to be good right away, and you're so tired of losing. Well, my perspective as a Piston fan, my first 20 years, we weren't any good. I was about 1968. I started being a Piston fan, and we didn't win until 1988. And so there are a lot of terrible years in there, and you just don't want to rush and try to do things and get stuck like where the Washington Wizards live, and that's in the middle. And really, the New York Knicks are improving, but they're kind of stuck in there too, where you're borderline in the playoffs or not in the playoffs, but you're right in the middle. So you never got high picks. You don't have good young players. You don't have, you're over the cap or at the limit. So the Nuggets, though, it takes luck too, and we're going to see how much luck it takes. So the Nuggets were smart and lucky to draft Nikola Jokic in the 2nd round in 2014. I think they're going to win the finals. I think they're going to beat the Miami Heat. But Jokic, so they drafted him in 2014. He didn't even start that year. And guess what? It's been how many years? So that's 7 years since that's 9 years since he's been on their team. So they draft him. Their next big piece they draft was Jamal Murray, which he was picked like number 7. So that was a great pick by them. He's, been a star when he's been healthy. And then they picked up Michael Porter Jr. in 2018. They got Murray in 16, Porter in 18, and Porter, they got lucky. He was projected to be the first round player picked in the draft, but then he had some major injuries. They took a gamble. I think they got him at like the 6th pick. And then they waited until 2020, 2021 to make their big move to trade for Aaron Gordon. And Aaron Gordon has been a big piece for them, but they waited. They didn't throw in all those draft picks and players or whatever they traded to get Aaron Gordon until 2021. And so that's a long time after they drafted Jokic. So And now and it still has taken them time to have the team come to the point where they're probably going to win a championship, and they might lose in the finals, but still, that's why it takes patience. And I'm wearing my autographed Isaiah Thomas jersey, and it's autographed on the back. I brought in my Pistons ball, one of my favorite memorabilia pieces. It has all the Pistons autographs on here. It has Chuck Daly. There's Joe Dumars. Um, where's Isaiah? I just saw him there. So Isaiah's on here. Dennis Rodman's there. There's Bill Laimbeer. Anyway, this ball is official NBA ball. It's one of my pride and joys. And that team, it took patience. And I want to do a deeper dive into the comparisons of this year's team and last year's team. Here's my, I have this autographed Wheaties box. Let me see, where can I put it? So it has Vinny and Isaiah and Joe and Rodman and Laimbeer and Mahorn and Dumars, and it's autographed personally by all those guys. So still got the Wheaties in the box. So since from 1988. So anyway, we draft Isaiah Thomas and 81. And then we don't draft Joe Dumars. So I'm going to tell you, this is why you got to enjoy this. I loved watching the Pistons from Isaiah's rookie year. I loved watching them. They drafted Kelly Tripucka the same year. They had Kent Benson. They had a bunch of guys. They didn't win. I mean, they were just over 500 or around 500, but they were exciting to watch. They were fun to watch because they had good players, and we knew they were going to get better, but it took time. So we don't get Joe Dumars until 85, so that's 4 years later. Then we strike gold with 2 late picks. We get John Sally. I think he was picked around the 18th pick in the draft that in 86. And Dennis Rodman we get in the second round. So we strike gold. And those guys, and then we put around Jack McCluskey. Our general manager was really smart. He added the right pieces. We had Laimbeer. We got him early on in a trade from Cleveland for basically nothing. And so that team took, from 81 when we drafted Isaiah until 88. So that's 7 years. And that's typically what it's taken for teams to get to where they're able to really perform. So we got Cade in 2021. So that means, it could be 28 before we really win. But again, it's going to be fun watching them grow. And one player I think that's going to really be fun to watch, if we can get him, is Cam Whitmore. And I've talked about him extensively on this. I'm going to talk about him again today. I'm going to die if we don't get Cam Whitmore. I can tell you that much. And it's not out of the realm of possibilities that the Houston Rockets, who draft just before us, jump and get him. So everybody's speculating that they're going to want Amen Thompson, that he fits their team perfect, and he is the big upside. He has probably even more upside than Cam. But Cam Whitmore is a freak athlete. He's built, and we're going to talk about that, what some experts say about how he looks. And anyway, he can shoot. He shot 40% on catch and shoot threes. He's a fantastic cutter. He's really intelligent about that. A bunch of every podcaster and writer I studied that studies the draft that talk about him, they talk about his intelligence and how he is great at cutting. So you got Jalen Duren. He is going to be phenomenal passing to cutters. And obviously Cade and Ivy can really pass to cutters. And we've seen that a little bit. I've seen Ivy pass and Cade pass to Killian on some good cuts. But I think he's going to be really exciting, and he is going to be fun. He's going to be racking on that rim, dunking the ball. He can get up so high, and when you got good passers like Duren, Cade, and Ivy, I think he's going to get lots of opportunities to dunk the ball. But he can shoot, and people are concerned about his ball handling. But I just want to say that he's 18. Benedict Mathurin and Keegan Murray doubled between his freshman year at Iowa, and his sophomore year, he doubled his assists. And so it happens. People, and look how much he improved from his freshman to his sophomore year. Whitmore's a young freshman, and so he doesn't turn 19 until July 8th, which makes me love him even more, because that is when my first child was born on July 8th, my daughter. So another reason to love Cam Whitmore. But again, he just has so many things going for him. Like you said, he's going to be so much fun to watch. You're going to we're going to have Duran racking on the rim and Ivy Duncan, and we're going to see Cam Whitmore, if he falls to us at three. The other scary thing is, besides that happening, Troy has been known to think outside the box, which just scares me to death that he might not take Cam. So wouldn't he likes to be tricky. Troy likes to be tricky, and so I hopefully he doesn't try to be tricky here. But we look at those players that really improved their passing. Anthony Edwards was a young freshman, and look how much he improved. Of course, he took a lot of bad shots when he was at Georgia, but he is now considered one of the best players under 24 in the NBA, and that I think any team would want him. So, Woj, Adrian Wojnarowski, that is for ESPN and covers the NBA. He went to his pro day. He was at the combine, but then they had a separate pro day where he went into the gym and watched him. And he said everybody that watched him was blown away by what a physical specimen he was. And people just stopped and they were just, stunned. And he also said he shot the lights out when he was watching, which anybody can do that in a workout. Not anybody, but a lot of people can. So you never know. But Jonathan Givony, that's the ESPN draft expert, he was there too, and he said that's what an NBA All-Star looks like. And they also said that's not what a typical one and done looks like. So there's guys that are one and done that a lot of times, like Evan Mobley, they're skinnier. Even Cade. Cade's put on a lot of muscle, but when they're first coming out after their freshman year, they're not big and strong. I really like Taylor Hendricks, but he will fill out after, but he's not big right now. So anyway, he has such explosion, and I think his shooting's going to improve. I just think that he's what we want. There's another guy, Tommy Golden, and I like this. This intrigued me that this is a guy that covered the Villanova Wildcats every day. He was the beat writer, and covered them. He had media access to Cam Whitmore 2 or 3 times a week. And so he was around him. He got to see him in hotel lobbies or in restaurants. He got to see him on the court before practice and after practice. He got a lot of exposure, and he said that everybody loves him and that people are attracted to him and they think that he's a great guy. He said the quote is that they flock to him, and he has superstar talent. He's ambidextrous, and that's another good thing. He did struggle. He had surgery on his thumb. He missed the first 7 games. He was on a team that had a lot of upperclassmen. They struggled. The team was terrible at passing the ball. They were like 285th in assist rate in the whole NCAA out of 300 and some teams. But a lot of guys weren't sharing the ball. They didn't shoot the ball very well, so that hurt your assist total too. But anyway, I loved hearing about what kind of a guy he was off the court, because I think that, obviously Troy is so big on that. And I was afraid, Jarris Walker has that great reputation. Anthony Black, I don't think there's a better kid than Anthony Black in the draft. If I were picking off the person, he's unselfish. He's a hard worker. He cares about doing a lot of the things. I think he could score more, but he is unselfish, and he just likes to make his teammates happy. Everybody says he's just the nicest person you'd ever want to meet, but he can't shoot that well, and he's kind of a point guard, and we don't need that. That's another reason for not taking Amen Thompson. To be effective, Amen Thompson has to have the ball in his hands. And I want Cade with the ball in his hands. And when Cade's not in the game, I want Ivy with the ball in his hands. And then those other people can facilitate off the ball and after they get the first pass. But I can just see that, Cade doing the pick and roll and kicking it out if help sags, and he kicks it out to Ivy or Cam Whitmore, and they're just going to take it to the rim, and because the closeout will have to come late, and then they'll be able to slam it at the rim. So anyway, they said he had they met his parents, this guy, when he got to spend time with his parents, and said that they're great people, which, that doesn't make you a great person just because you have great parents, but it does. A lot of times it does. So I'm excited for him, and that they say that everybody on campus liked him, all the students. He could just see that the professors that he talked to all really liked him. The administration liked him. He was a very likable person. So um, let's talk about potential trades. I saw some of these on the internet, and one of them was Bogey Ivy and the fifth pick for Jaylen Brown. And Jaylen Brown is what everybody in the NBA wants, except Jaylen Brown last night had 9 turnovers when they lost Game 7, and he struggled. But he is the prototypical, wing player that everybody wants. He's a good defender. He had a great year. He was fabulous. He scored 26 points a game, and and that's even being on the same team with Tatum, who Jason Tatum takes tons of shots. So he had averaged 26.6, 6.9, almost 7 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 49% shooting. Great defender, and so he is who we would want. He's only 26 years old, so that's a great player. But he's 26, and now he made All NBA, so he qualifies for the Supermax. So he's going to make over $59 million a year, and I still think our players. I heard a thing by somebody interviewed Steph Curry and Draymond Green, and they asked them, how many years were you in the league before you could contribute to winning? And they both said 3 to 4 years, and they were both older. I think Steph was a junior, and when he came out, and Draymond, I think, came out after his senior year. I also wanted to mention that's with the Warriors, they came on late. Where they drafted when they drafted Steph, and they drafted Steph when he in 09, they drafted Steph and Clay in 2011, and Draymond 2012, and then they got they didn't win a title until 2014. So again, that shows you 2009 to 2014. That's 5 years before they won a championship, and how they gradually built their team. They were patient. They didn't overpay anybody. They also had some other good players and other good picks, but they filled in around those players. And so that's where we're going to be at. We can fill in around Cade, Ivy, Duran, and hopefully Cam Whitmore. So so that's a trade that we could make, but I love Ivy. I don't want to give up Ivy, and he's so young, and they're so much cheaper, and Bogey is under a great contract. When people want to sign free agents and they start talking about, we could sign this free agent, we could sign that free agent, but Bogey it's hard to top him. It's hard to find a free agent that has his professionalism, but also can shoot the ball like he can. And, he is a great player for our team to be around the teammates. He's on $20 million a year only, and next year he's got a real low buyout. So, we would be hard pressed to find somebody as good as him to sign. So when we're looking for free agents, but having said that, I am all for trading him, because I do think that he's 34 years old right now, and he has got lots of value, and so is finding the value in the fit. That's the challenge. So another trade proposed is to Atlanta for DeJounte Murray, and their 15th. They have the 15th pick in this draft, and we would give the Hawks Bogey and number 5. And I'm not for that. I'm not. Up to about 9, there's good players. I'm still all in on Cam Whitmore. If Cam Whitmore isn't available, if the Rockets take him, then we can look to trade, or we can draft Taylor Hendricks. But I think that somebody would maybe want to trade something really good for that believes in Amen Thompson. So I think there's somebody that could make us a great offer if we can't get Cam Whitmore. So anyway, DeJounte Murray is a great player. He made the All-Star game in 2022. This year he averaged 20.5 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, shot 34% on threes. He's a great defender. But guess what? He's a guard. We have Cade and Ivy, and so we're going to have a third guard that's that good. The other problem is he only has 1 year left on his contract. So that's what I'm saying. When we look to get all these guys, and they have 1 year left on their contract, and we're going to trade a young player or a draft pick, and we're going to get a guy with 1 year left that has a huge contract that we don't know that we can re-sign. So that's, that's not something that I'm for. Somebody also suggested that we trade the Jazz, our fifth pick, and we get their ninth and 16th pick. And I'm not for doing that. I'd rather go and get somebody that I think has superstar potential or a really good player. The ninth pick, there's going to be somebody good left at 9, but not the best option. And 16 could certainly get a good player, but your odds are diminished when you're picking at 16. So I'm not for that trade. I had mentioned that I wouldn't mind if I could trade up to Portland and even give them our fifth pick. And if I thought that we could get one of the top two or three picks, I think that Scoot Henderson is, even though he's a guard, but he has amazing potential, and especially I would like to get Brandon Miller, even though there's a world that Cam Whitmore could end up being better than Brandon Miller. That's a real thing, and I know some draft experts that have them ranked really close to each other. So I'm not for making that trade, but if I could trade up to Portland and I would give away a lot of assets to get them. I would give away any of our, not Duran, but I would give up, Bagley or Weissman or Stewart and our first round pick and even Bogey or Burks too. So let's look at the coaching carousel a little bit. Now it looks like we're not interviewing Jaron Collins. He was one of the 3 finalists, but now it looks like it's down to interviews again with Ali and Charles Lee, and I think they've probably both been interviewed for the 3rd time at least by now, and so I'm not sure what's holding up this decision. There's coaching changes that have been made. Again, teams that fired their coach after we fired our coach, and they're still, they still hired a new guy. So Nick Nurse went to the 76ers. There's speculation that he could have gone. He had the option of going to the Suns if he would have wanted to, but he chose the Sixers over the Suns. I'm not sure if I would have done that. I like Kevin Durant, and I love Booker, and so and maybe their team isn't, other than those 2 guys, they don't have much depth. So he went there, and Adrian Griffin got the Bucks job. So here again, it's fascinating. Adrian Griffin was an assistant in Toronto. Toronto needs a head coach. And they've seen Adrian Griffin at work every day for I'm not sure how many years, but they did not choose to sign him. Charles Lee was the lead assistant in Milwaukee. He was there in their building every day, and they got to see him, and I like him a lot. So I do hope that that's who we end up with. But still, they didn't hire him, and they hired the Toronto assistant. So that's just fascinating to me. Adrian Griffin, he's a player in the NBA. I watched him play. His son is AJ Griffin that plays the Hawks drafted last year. That's a really great shooter. Another big thing that happened in the NBA is Bob Myers stepped down from the Warriors. And Bob Myers was the architect that put everything together. He signed all the players. He drafted all the players. And he was incredible. He also, along with Steph Curry, I think was really instrumental in creating the culture that the Warriors had. And I think a lot of the players really liked and appreciated him. So anyway, do something nice for somebody today, even if it's just giving them a phone call, if somebody that that might be alone or somebody that might be sick. Thank you for listening. If you're watching on Spotify, please leave a 5-star review. If you're listening on YouTube, subscribe. Makes a difference for me. And leave a thumbs up. And go Pistons.